So I am off to a fashion week presentation for a fashion brand, obviously, and the brand is called Lad, and I'm going to show you quickly what I'm wearing. So I'm doing something very simple and very sleek and chic. Of course, it's kind of black and white because, frankly, those are the easiest two colors to wear when you're going to a fashion event, particularly if you don't already have something in the designer. It's just easier to go with black. So in my hair, I have my little black and white ribbon piece, and then I have my ponytail, it's out. For the shirt, I have this ruffle top that I got a long time ago from J. Crew. This blazer is vintage Yves Saint Laurent, and it has little pinstripes in it. I don't know if you can see it because it's dark. And then I just have on my denim, like some of my Cezanne cropped denim. And then for the shoes, so these shoes have been like my dark horse shoes and I love them. They're my GH Bass loafers, and those shoes, I need to take them to the, I need to take them to the guy. But the point is, these are my GH Bass loafers, and we're gonna just pop them on. Oh wait, the bag. For the bag, I'm going with my Gucci bag, so let me show you the full look. Sorry, I just realized you can't really see my shoes, so now you can. So let me put them on really quickly so you can see the full look. And I do use my shoehorn every time I put on my loafers. Makes it so much easier. Okay. So this is the final outfit. What I like about it is it gives the sense that it's like this suit without it actually being a suit. Alright, there you have it. Talk to you later, darling. Peace out. Ciao, ciao. I've been trying to motivate myself to get back into dating, and I had this guy come up to me. He was very cute. And he was talking to me away, but he was young, but I was like, "Oh, sweetie, you're cute." But you know, I was talking with someone about one of the things that happens when you are dating someone, and then let's say you have a breakup, or even if you're dating someone and you haven't broken up with them. We were just talking about how what can happen is it can cause you to question your own judgment. I just think that's one of the hardest parts about dating, and hardest parts about trying to kind of start over after dating someone, is that you might wonder, how did I miss that? And then sometimes your family and friends say it, sometimes they don't, but they're also kind of thinking the same thing. You're smart. How did you miss that? You know? And this happens to men and women, right? This is not just something that happens to women. However, I think it's one of the hardest parts, or can be one of the hardest parts, especially after you've been in a relationship for a while. And I also think that sometimes what happens is, like, you've been in a relationship at a point, like, for so long that you're kind of like, well, maybe it might get better. And you just kind of are like in it, and it's like not really getting better. So then you're kind of like, okay, well, how do I get out of this? But like, also, how did I let it keep going this long, right? Like, there are all of these things that cause you to feel like, that cause you to question your judgment. And I think it's hard to fight against that. I actually think that's a lot of times probably why people stay in relationships, even if they know they should leave, is because they're like, how did I even let this happen to myself? But then also, once you get out of a relationship, that you've been in for a while, you can sit there asking yourself, how did I let this happen to myself? I'm trying to get back on the dating horse. I am. But I'm not particularly energized by it. Let's just say that. Cuckoo, my loves, how are you doing today? So yet another Fashion Week event. I am going to the spring collection cocktail hour for a brand called Another Tomorrow. Another Tomorrow is an American brand. This is what I am wearing. I accidentally broke one of my little tassels as I was getting ready, which makes me so sad, but this is the look. So I have on my favorite leather jacket, like the cropped one with the gold buttons that you all have seen a lot. And then I have on this skirt. This skirt is vintage Yves Saint Laurent, and then underneath it I have on a top for Courage. I am going to carry my Chanel Mini 22 with me for this look. And then, hold on, for our shoes, I want to note that I'm actually on time. I might even be early. Let's not go there. Let's just stay on time. I'm wearing my Hyatt burgundy boots. The top underneath, the Courage top, is also burgundy, if you can see it. I don't know if you really can because it is dark outside. So let's put on the boots. Okay, so this is the outfit. Let's see it. Oh yeah, I'm liking it. Because it's a cocktail hour, I'm assuming that I'm going to be doing a lot of standing. So because of that, that's why I'm going with the burgundy Hyatt boots. And then, of course, the little Chanel, because the gold matches the gold. And, oh, my earrings are still silver. Do I swap out my earrings? No. I'm gonna stick with the silver earrings as just like a mixed metal look. Because the silver, yes, we're gonna stick with the silver earrings because they are lighter. So, voila, the outfit. It's nice to be on time. All right, I'll talk to you later. Bye. This sounds bougie, but this is how I like to shop. Pre-order. I'm not really bougie, also don't judge me. Okay. just sitting here studying my bees. And I had this conversation with someone, I think last night maybe the night before, where we were talking about how as women, and I may have mentioned this before, but we were talking about how as women, when you are perceived as a strong woman, people generally don't check in on you, and they don't care about, not that they don't care about you, but they don't check in on you. And that they just think you're okay. Like, what can be done to break the narrative that because you are strong, you don't also need support? Right? Because I would actually say that the women who are perceived as strong, perceived as having their act together, and whatever that means to people, actually probably need the most support. Right? Because they might need, I think that because we're carrying more. And so we need more of that presence of people checking in on us and asking how we're doing and whatever else. And just thinking about how, having somebody to just go home to and tell them, like, how your day was and, like, something funny you saw on the street, right? So, like, for example, I mentioned this on Instagram. This isn't funny, but it was crazy what happened. So I was walking out of the metro because I was going to visit a friend because we were going to have dinner at her house. Or I thought I was going to have dinner at her house, and instead she planned for us to go out. But so I'm walking up the metro steps, and as I get up the first set, and as I get to the bottom of the second set, which would have taken me outside, all of a sudden I hear, oh, and this woman movie rolls down the stairs. And when I say movie roll, it was literally like, come straight out. She was like, woo, 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 almost all the way to the bottom. It was dramatic, okay? And because it was so incredibly dramatic, all of a sudden 3 women come running from the top, and they come running down, and they're like, oh no, we need to call the pompier, and there's all this discussion. And the woman, meanwhile, is laying there, and she's drunk, and also possibly a little bit on some sort of substance, right? And it was crazy, right? Like, it was just crazy kind of how the whole thing unfolded. The woman trying to call the pompier, the lady lying on the ground, then proceeds to insult her, and then is like, no, I'm getting up, and then, like, the woman has to help her up because she can't even really walk, and then she, like, helps her up, and then she, like, stumbles off into the metro, and we were all standing there like, what the heck has just happened, right? Like, those are the things where you see them, and you just want to tell somebody, like, I saw the craziest thing tonight, right? And so I would actually say that women who are perceived as strong probably need more support because we're more observant. I don't want this to sound condescending. Let me be clear. But we're noticing more, we're holding more, we're carrying more. And so we need a place to be soft, and we need to be allowed to be soft. And part of the way of being soft is getting support. And so I just think that it is really frustrating that it's actually the opposite, which is that you don't have that. So yeah, those are my thoughts for today. It was so great talking to you. As always, have a wonderful and beautiful day, and I'll see you again next week. Bye. Also, we're entering birthday month.